Hi, this is Ed, and welcome to episode 7 of Cracking the Codex. We are at the final Space Marine episode, Gladius Task Force, the original. How are you feeling about this, John?
Yeah, it's like going home. It's like Christmas Day. I'm going home to my family to see sort of the old pair of shoes there that I used to wear. Yeah, very comfortable. I'm not sure I'm that excited though, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll get something cool for Christmas. You never know.
So it turns out John's replaced his family with a new, cooler family, I think was the takeaway from that.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. So, Gladius, you probably know it by now, but what do you get? You get combat doctrines. At the start of your command phase, you can select one of the following, and this is in effect until the start of your next command phase. Is that correct?
Correct.
Lovely stuff. All right, so you've got 3 to pick from, which means there are going to be 2 turns of the game where you don't have a doctrine to active. You can have Devastator, which lets you advance and shoot. Tactical Doctrine, which is fallback, shoot, and charge. And also Assault Doctrine, which is advance and charge. 3 very powerful abilities.
Yes.
Really solid to have. A nice selection to go from. And I think, to be honest, that's the most exciting thing about the detachment for me now, outside of, because I think a lot of the other detachments can do the things that Gladius was doing on launch better. If you want to go overwhelming shooting, you can do it better with other detachments. But the flexibility and particularly the advance and charge is something I'm quite excited about in this detachment. All right, stratagem wise, as always, for those of you keeping track at home, 3 of them this time are battle tactics, which means captains can make 3 of these stratagems repeatable and free. This is, I think, the first list that we've written that actually has a Space Marine captain in that is leading a squad. I think genuinely across 7 episodes, this is the first time we've done it, despite tracking that's for 7 episodes. Does that sound right to you?
It is.
Yeah. The other characters are just good, turns out. But all right. So first of all, Armor of Contempt. You know it, you love it. It is -1 to the AP of incoming attacks. No more needs to be said. Probably a good one to be using on the unit as your free stratagem. It's nice to keep that in your
Yes,
back pocket.
because then you can have it in your shooting phase, in their shooting phase, and their combat phase. So it's just double value.
Something that we haven't mentioned, we should probably mention now. I think this is a better stratagem if you're going second, if you're using it for the free stratagem, because you either use an offensive stratagem in your turn, or if you don't have the opportunity to do so, you can use the free Armor of Contempt on your opponent's turn without really losing anything. It's quite nice just to have that flexibility.
Agreed.
The second stratagem, Honor the Chapter, 1 CP. This is used in the fight phase. You pick a single Adeptus Astartes unit from your army, and until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Lance ability. Additionally, if it is the assault turn, the turn you've picked your assault doctrine, you get the additional benefit of +1 AP to all attacks from that squad in combat. That's pretty solid. 1 CP. I'm going to be slamming that every time I'm hitting with a solid melee
Exactly.
unit that benefits from both ends of that, which turns out that's a lot of stuff that you can put in an army. It also doubles up with, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here, adaptive strategy. Not a battle tactic, but in your command phase, you can select a single Adeptus Astartes unit, and you can put that squad into either the Dev Doctrine, the Tactical Doctrine, or the Assault Doctrine. So you get some flexibility with your doctrines. You can have multiple turns on key units in, for example, the Assault Doctrine, allowing you to advance and charge, and then get that real honor for the chapter value.
Yeah. And the very big part of adaptive strategies, it doesn't have to be one that you haven't used. So you could have, like you say, multiple times, or you've already used it turn 1, keep going, and every turn someone could be in Dev Doctrine if you wanted, which is quite scary.
Yeah. And also you can put your entire army into Dev Doctrine, get the benefit of that, but still have a key melee unit in the Assault Doctrine, for example, or vice versa. The third battle tactic is Storm of Fire. Now, if you've played against Space Marines at any point in the last 6 months or so, you know what this does. This is 1 unit in the shooting phase. They get Ignores Cover, and if they are under the effect of Dev Doctrine, they get +1 to their AP as well. This was an absolute disaster when paired with the original Desolation Marine brick that was sitting in the backfield, gone but not forgotten nor forgiven.
They're right there in that backfield.
you dirty meta chaser, you. Now more commonly seen paired with the Harm Assist, the Apothecary Biologus, in a Redeemer full of Boltstorm Aggressors. And we do like that combo. That is a firm staple of lists that we have been writing. Then moving on to the other two, the non-battle tactics. There's Only in Death Does Duty End. 2 CP, fight phase. After an enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick one of your units and they fight on death. There's no rolling. It's the more expensive 2 CP, fight on death. Sometimes that's going to be good if you're playing a melee matchup, or if you've got a high value army unit like, for example, Terminators. You're concerned that you're going to lose the bulk of your squad. You can swing back and you can do some real damage. It does have to go back into the squad that attacked them, unfortunately. There's no dying and then killing the next squad that's going to hit you, which is the big value that you used to get out of the fight on death in 9th edition rules. And finally, there is squad tactics. This is the tactical detachment bonus, possibly the best stratagem in there. Fantastic. It's the classic, in your opponent's movement phase, after an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of one of your units, they can make a normal move of up to d6 or a flat 6-inch move if you're in the tactical doctrine. Great. Lovely stuff.
Very useful.
Yeah. You obviously can't pick anything that's in engagement range of any other units, and you also have to pick an infantry or mounted unit, but turns out those are some of the good units anyway. There's a lot of really good infantry in the detachment. Lovely stuff. Enhancement wise then, and some of these are pretty good, I think. It's not the best enhancements that we've seen, but they're still pretty solid. Starting off with, I think, possibly the worst, Artificer Armor. It is only 10 points. You don't feel necessarily bad if you've got 10 points to spare and you whack it on a character. They get a 2-up armor save and a 5-up feel no pain. You excited by this?
It's, as you say, often I've got 10, 15 points left.
Yeah.
That lieutenant with the combi weapon suddenly gets a 2-up save, and it might happen. Most of the time I probably forget he has it. So the 10 points is probably wasted anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess maybe if you do put this in your list, make his armor particularly pretty. Paint it to a high standard so that you know it's the Artificer Armor.
Extra paint.
Absolutely. Then we've got the Honor Venomant. This is 15 points, an Adeptus Astartes model. It's +1 to attack and strength of your melee weapons, and it's +2 to your attacks and strength if you are in the Assault Doctrine or under the effect of the Assault Doctrine. So if you've spent a CP to put that squad into the Assault Doctrine, you get the bonuses as well. I quite like this. I think it's a great way to... Because with characters being quite cheap, especially now that you can get the Jump Pack Captain, who is, I believe, 85 points base, you can just whack that on him, make him into a reasonably hard-hitting assault unit. 7 attacks at strength 10, AP 2 damage, dev wounds with the Thunderhammer on the charge. It's not nothing. It's not anywhere near as good as what the Chaos Lords can pull out, but it's still pretty respectable. Lovely. Adept of the Codex, 20 points. This is a captain only. In your command phase, if you don't select a combat doctrine to be active for your army, you can select the tactical doctrine, and his squad is under the benefit of the tactical doctrine. I don't love it. In theory, if you're using your doctrines effectively, you get 2 additional turns of bonus on this model squad. That's fine. I'm not in love with it. I think if I want that bonus, maybe I just look at spending the CP for free by having a captain in that squad.
I've tried it both ways.
Yeah.
More often than not, if I've got him and he's got Adepts of the Codex, it doesn't get used, because normally if I'm wanting them to go, they're not going to be in tactical.
Yeah.
And if they're defensively being put into tactical for using squad tactics 6 inches backwards, things probably have gone a lot worse, and it shouldn't have been a decision being made in list building, perhaps.
Sure. Just to clarify, you can't use your captain to make adaptive tactics free. It's not a battle tactic.
No.
My mind went back to the beginning of 9th edition there.
No.
And
it's more you do that and then go, I will then do squad tactics for a CP, but because you're in tactical, you go back 6 inches rather than D6.
Sure.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last one, we've got Fire Discipline, and this is great. As I was saying before, goes on the Apothecary Biologus. He goes in with a squad of the Boltstorm aggressors, and it gives the squad sustained hits 1. And when they're in Dev Doctrine, they get a 5-up crit hit. So you're just exploding on 5s with your devastating wounds. You can potentially fish for hits with your full rerolls, although mathematically it doesn't actually make sense. It's just cooler. Rolling more dice is more gooder. And yeah, you get to put out large volume of reasonable quality hits. It's a winner. Not much more to say. 30 points. No. You've seen it across the table from yourself already. Take it if you're building around that. Example lists. We have stayed away from some of the staples we've gone with. We haven't gone Deathwing. Deathwing Knights with Advance and Charge. It's good. It's solid. However, we thought, what does this enable that none of the other detachments really shine with? And I think you can make a really nice pressure list with Gladius Detachment. So the basic theme here is you have 3 Death Company squads with jump packs who are moving a base 12 inches and then advancing and then charging on the go turn. You've got the Death Company Marines in a Rhino who are disembarking 3, moving 6, advancing D6, and then charging on the go turn. You've got the 2 squads of Assault Intercessors with the Power Fist and the Plasma Pistol. They can throw a grenade on the way in. They can do some impact mortal wounds. One of them's got the Captain with the jump pack, the combo that we previously talked about with the Thunder Hammer and the Honor Feminant. So 7 attack, strength 10, AP2, 2 damage with death wounds. You've got the ever-present Apothecary Biologist, who is the one squad that maybe doesn't necessarily want to try and advance and charge. They're going to pop out and shoot some things. But if you do need that melee pressure instead of the high rate of fire, you can again just pop out, move the Land Raider. Assault ramps is a good rule. Gives you that option to pop out and just punch some things in the face. And then we've tied it all together with a couple of Ballistus Dreadnoughts, which are very strong if you can get the advance and shoot turn. Turns out when people are writing mission packs, they try to measure it so that you can't get good turn 1 shooting. If you can turn a vehicle into, an extra 4-inch move with an advance, suddenly that tends to open up fire lanes that the people designing the map pack didn't expect you to be able to get access to. Anything we've kind of done it a little different to normal. I've just picked out the main theme. Is there anything in this list that you're super excited about and want to talk about, John?
So for me, the big exciting point is still the Land Raider Redeemer with all the fun tricks in it is such a good kind of middle of the board thing. People can deal with it, but whilst that's going on, you've got all the jump pack guys just going around it, and you can't deal with both. And so I think it does mission play really well. It's got some good combat, which is quite unusual for Space Marines to have multiple good combat units. You tend to have one big hammer. So having lots of mini hammers is quite exciting for me, but the problem is I'll never run it because they're not Dark Angels.
There is that.
And green, I suppose.
Yeah, so this list definitely wants to potentially put maybe a squad of the Death Company in reserve, maybe one of the Assault Intercessors into reserve as well. Turn 1, you're going to advance up and try and stage into Ruins position so that turn 2, you can get that overwhelming punch forwards. The Redeemer wants to drive forwards. The Ballistus Dreads want to advance and hopefully find some fire lanes that they can maybe pick off some transports, soften up the opponent's list. And then turn 2, on your opponent's turn, rapid ingress if you can, that one squad of Death Company, and really just go to town and go, I'm going to charge you in 6 different places with 6 fairly equally killer units. You can interrupt one of them. I'm going to kill 5 of your other things.
Yes, and where traditionally I would put most of the scouts forward, in this, we were kind of talking before the video, I'd probably have some back in the back of the deployment, just helping screen you out. Because if you are pushing everything so much forward, you're just leaving a massive pocket behind yourself where someone can just go, there I go. And do the same you've done to them, but in reverse, and you're probably on the back foot then. So
yeah, absolutely. We were discussing trying to fit a whirlwind in this list. It doesn't feel like it needs one. It feels like you are the aggressor, putting your units in the little annoying nooks and crannies that you'd want to be routing models out with that indirect fire.
Yeah.
So if your opponent does that to you and gives you charges with Death Company, absolutely take it and be happy just to sit 5 models on an objective behind a wall that your opponent can't really deal with. Fantastic. Well, thank you for watching. This has been episode 7 of Cracking the Codex. We do have something coming for you next week, but you're going to have to wait and find out what that is. And of course, there will be new codexes coming soon. And we're going to be doing them. We're going to be cracking those codexes, whichever plural you prefer.
It's codices.
It's whatever the viewer fancies. We're equal opportunity. I don't discriminate between my codex and my codices. Have a good night.